Hello, everybody. Welcome to your favorite Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I am your co-host, Mike L., and as always, I'm joined by...
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That is right, and we are going to pick a comic tonight. Actually, I picked a comic that we've already covered at least 2 times, and that's Avengers. And this week, we're going to review number 175.
Yes, and this is from 1978.
Yes.
And this is part of the Korvac Saga.
Right. It's also, and I'll tell you, the reason I picked it is not because of Korvac or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Because I've got this collected in my Guardians of the Galaxy Tomorrow's Avengers Volume 2 trade paperback collection.
Okay.
And so it collects every single appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So the only reason I picked this was because the Guardians were in it. But originally, I was going to pick a different issue, but for like 4 issues in a row, they're only in like 1 or 2 panels, and so I kind of just had to settle on this one because I think they're in like 3 panels. In this.
Yeah, I was going to say they're barely in this.
Yeah, so that's why I picked it. I've never read it before. I didn't know anything about it, so yeah.
Well, the Korvac Saga, it gets all kinds of acclaim. It was considered like the best storyline in 1978. Like it won awards and everything, and it was created and plotted by Jim Shooter. And the story spans 10 issues of the Avengers, from 167 to 177. And I've always heard all this great stuff about the Korvac Saga. Oh, it's so great. But I'd never read any of it. So this is my first experience with it. And issue 175 is the 9th part of the story. Because technically, there's 11 parts of it. Because I guess it began in Thor Annual
Number 6, which we read.
Yeah, I think that was episode 4 of the Flea Market Fantasy podcast. Right. And so technically, I guess that's the first step of this story. But in terms of the Avengers, it goes over 7 issues or 10 issues from 67 to 77. But yeah, and the writers here over the course of the story are Jim Shooter, then Marv Wolfman, David Michelinie, Bill Mantlo, and even George Perez was credited with a writing credit in one of the issues.
Okay.
And today's issue is Jim Shooter and David Michelinie.
Yep.
So I guess Michelinie's doing like the dialogue and stuff, and Shooter just plotted it out. And the artist throughout the big story arc, it started with George Perez, and then Sab Buscema was in there for a while. But today's issue was drawn by a fellow named Dave Wenzel,
who I've never heard of before today.
I had never heard of him either. I remember last week you said maybe it's a pseudonym, D. Wenzel, but no, it's an actual fellow.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about him last week at the end here of the episode. And also last week I was trying to remember what they called this story arc, and you were saying Korvac Quest, and that is something different.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is the Korvac Saga. The Korvac Quest was a 4-issue intertitle crossover in 1991 that ran over the annuals of the Fantastic Four, Thor, Silver Surfer, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Gotcha. Okay.
Where they go, it's like almost a continuation of this story where they're going into to chase Korvac's essence or whatever into the future and stuff. So I didn't even know the Guardians had their own series in 91.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I thought they were like a 70s thing, and then we never heard of them again until the movies.
No, it's just like Quasar, right? Like Quasar disappeared in 83, and he came back in 89, and the Guardians disappeared around this time too. So I think in 89, 90, Marvel just needed a bunch of new titles, so that's why you got Quasar, Guardians, you got Moon Knight, I think a new Doctor Strange probably, get a bunch of stuff. Oh, like Nighthawk. Remember Nighthawk?
Vaguely.
We'll talk about it in another episode.
I confuse him with like Shadowhawk and wasn't that Image? Or... Wait a
minute. I think I've got it backwards. I think Shadowhawk is Marvel. Let me just look this up. Hold on here. Just our listeners are losing faith in us right now. Hold on. Let me just.
And then of course this issue has Starhawk.
Yes.
Of the Guardians.
So Shadowhawk is Image. Nighthawk is Marvel.
Okay. Yeah.
He looked exactly like remember the Silverhawks cartoon?
Not really.
Wait a minute. Oh my God. No, Nighthawk is from Okay, we're losing viewers left and right. Okay? Nighthawk is from Squadron Supreme. Oh, I know what it is. It's Darkhawk. I'm thinking of Darkhawk. Remember him?
There's a lot of fucking hawks.
Yeah. So Darkhawk looked exactly like a character from Silverhawks, the cartoon, except he was all black.
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's all pops and buzzes at this point. None of it's making any sense.
Yep.
But yeah, there you go. Who was the guy in DC in Hanna-Barbera comics, where he was kind of looking like a hawk, and he had the pet dog who had like robot legs. You know what I'm saying?
Hanna-Barbera Hawk. Are you talking about not Chicken Hawk?
No. He was a guy, like a superhero.
Oh, Harvey Birdman, or
kind of like him, but different.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm looking it up here.
I think he might be appearing with Scooby-Doo in a new movie at the moment.
Is it Blue Falcon?
That sounds right.
He has a dog. Yeah, he has a dog that looks like Scooby.
So that's a falcon. These are hawks.
Right.
Don't want to confuse the two. But anyway. All right. So where were we? I don't even remember. How do we get into Nighthawk and Starhawk and Shadowhawk?
I can't remember. We were talking about the Avengers and it just... Oh, Guardians having their own series and why...
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah, okay.
So anyway, in this issue of Avengers 175, 1978, the big villain here is Korvac. And we've talked about Korvac before. Although, technically, I guess, Miguel, there is debate whether Korvac is a villain in this.
True.
I don't know. Are you familiar with the whole story?
Not much. I know that he becomes a god, and that's about it.
Yeah. So we've talked about Korvac before in episode 4 of our podcast, but we'll recap so everyone can remember who he is. But his first appearance was Giant Size Defenders number 3, 1975. He was created by Steve Gerber, Len Wein, and Jim Starlin. And he was a computer technician born in an alternate Earth in the year 2997. He's from the future. Mm-hmm. And he was, his story involves the Brotherhood of the Badoon, a reptilian alien species that conquered Earth. Korvac turned traitor, so he sided with the Badoon against his fellow humans. But when the Badoon found him sleeping at his computer terminal, Michael, they fused them to the machine.
Yes.
So Korvac had the upper torso of a human, and then from the waist down, he was a computer terminal. That cool. Raises a lot of questions. You know?
About topics not appropriate for a
yes.
Kid's audience, yes.
So he became super smart because he's merged with a computer, and he became a villain and whatnot. And he can analyze his foes and then devise ways to beat them. He's always one step ahead of his foes because he's so smart. So after that Thor annual we read, he got defeated and he found his way onto Galactus's big spaceship.
Ah, yes.
I don't know if he teleported there by accident or how it happened, but he just somehow got into Galactus's big spaceship, and he connected with the computer on Galactus's spaceship. And since he was already super smart, getting all that knowledge basically transformed him into a god. And that's where we're at now, I guess, in this story. He's coming to Earth because, well, what does he want to do? He wants to make Earth a utopia, right? That's his goal.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So that's that's a nice goal. Make it a utopia for the people. Yeah, but the Avengers say, "Hey, we can't let that happen. We need chaos and and terrible things here on the planet." But I guess they don't know they're fighting Korvac when this big story begins. They just know they're looking for someone called the Enemy.
Right.
And who tells them that? Is that the Collector that does that?
I think so. Is it the Collector? Yeah. The Collector's dead at the beginning of this, but yeah.
No, at the beginning of this issue, but not at the beginning of the arc. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, at the beginning of the whole saga, the Collector starts grabbing Avengers and plucking them out of their reality. They just start disappearing. So they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And then the Collector all gets them up on this big spaceship. Because what do you know about the Collector, Michael? Do you know his background?
Not much, other than that he collects, and he is he's an elder of the universe, right?
Oddly enough, his name is the Collector. Doesn't collect anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, his real name is Tanaleer Taven, which is weird because that's my mother's name. But then he was born. His first appearance was Avengers 28, 1966, and he was created by Stan Lee and Don Heck. And as you said, Michael, he is an elder of the universe, one of the oldest living beings. And because he's so old, and he was like the best example of his species, death made him immortal, granted him immortality. But I guess there's an asterisk next to that immortality because, as you mentioned, he died right before.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that works. But the Collector, Elder of the Universe. So he began collecting important artifacts and beings to repopulate the universe after its destruction. He figured, hey, things are going to go south here eventually. I want to make sure we got all this stuff collected and preserved. So if the universe ever dies, we can start it up again with all this new stuff. And he filled up 10 museum worlds with items from 100,000 planets.
Really?
And during this Korvac Saga, he started collecting the Avengers because he was aware that Korvac was dangerous. He sensed that there's a disruption in the universe and all that. This super powerful being is going to Earth. So he must start collecting the Avengers to preserve them. And Michael, he decides he needs a little spy to keep track of this Korvac guy. So he sends his daughter, Karina, to spy on him. And Karina is, her first appearance was Avengers 167, 1978, so just a few issues before this. And she was created by Jim Shooter and George Perez. And, the Collector, he sensed that two beings could endanger Earth. One was Korvac. That's why he sent his daughter to look after him, keep an eye on him. And two, Thanos. Look out. The Mad Titan. Thanos. So that brings us to Karina and the Collector and Korvac. Those are all the big players here, but some other characters we need to talk about, some supporting characters. First of all, Two Gun Kid.
Yes.
Michael, what can you tell us about Two Gun Kid? Who the hell is this guy?
I can tell you just about nothing other than he is like a Western. He's a cowboy, so he's from the Marvel's Western comics. And in issues before this, I guess it was Hawkeye that was time traveling. And he had an adventure with him, right?
Yeah, somehow Two Gun Kid ended up in the future with the Avengers because he's from the 1800s, you know. Right. And his real name is Matthew Hawk, but he was born Matthew Leibowitz, which seems weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Seems strange. And get this, Michael, even though he is the Two Gun Kid, his first appearance was in Two Gun Kid issue 60.
Well, that's kind of confusing.
In 1962. That's odd.
How do you explain that?
I have no idea. He was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. I guess there was a Two Gun Kid, like a fictional character, and then in issue 60, they tried to say this was the real Two Gun Kid.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Something like that.
Clay Harder was the first one, created in Timely Comics in 48. The second one is Matt Hawk.
Yeah, born Matthew Leibowitz.
Right.
Why did he change his name to Hawk? I don't know. So yeah, Kang. Kang was what they were fighting Kang, and he somehow pulled Two Gun Kid into the future, I guess.
Huh.
The Avengers and him. So they went the Avengers went in the past to fight Kang, and then Two Gun Kid came up with them to the future. That's how it happened. So then Two Gun Kid and Hawkeye went on, had their own little adventures, time traveling and stuff for a while. And then when this issue comes around, he's back in the future with the Avengers. So, but that's who he is, Two Gun Kid. Yeehaw. He's a cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never heard of him until this.
I've definitely heard of him. I just didn't know anything about him.
One other cool character here is Moondragon.
Right.
And her real name is Heather Douglas. And her first appearance was Iron Man 54 in 1973, created by Bill Everett, Mike Friedrich, and George Tuska.
Mm.
She is the daughter of Arthur Douglas. And do you know who Arthur Douglas is, Michael?
Okay, I have no clue.
His corpse was reanimated to become Drax the Destroyer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so she's Drax's daughter.
Interesting, okay.
when she was a girl, Heather and her parents were driving through the desert when they saw Thanos' spaceship arrive on Earth. Thanos didn't want any witnesses, so he blew up their car. What a dick. Yeah. So her parents died. Heather survived. And Thanos' dad, a fella named the Mentor, that's his dad's name, which is weird, but he found Heather and took her back to the planet Titan, where she was raised by the Titanian Shaolin monks. The monks taught her to unlock her latent psychic abilities, and she developed mental and physical powers as well, including telepathy, telekinesis, psionic projection, and low-level superhuman strength. All her powers are based on her mental discipline and concentration. So if you like distract her with something, you know, it's not so tough then, are you, Moondragon? Like, I guess there's one issue, I forget when, but someone kept her subdued by putting headphones on, blaring loud rock music.
And that defeated her?
Yeah, she was powerless. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't focus. But she's a super strong telepath, like even more than Xavier.
Wow.
She's that level and beyond. And describe what she looks like for the kids, because maybe they don't know the name Moondragon, but they've probably seen her.
The key thing about her is she's bald.
Yeah. She's a bald lady.
Right. And she has essentially a bathing suit on. Like bare legs, low-cut V-neck, and a cape, and then a huge, what's that called? What's that called? Like around the back of your neck that sticks up. What is that? Yeah,
I don't know. I just call it part of the cape.
Yeah, whatever that is. Yeah, like the collar part is humongous, like disco size. It's gigantic.
And it's green too. Her cape and her swimsuit thing is green.
Right.
But yeah, she's a good fighter, and like you said, she's somewhat strong, super strong telepath, and bald. That's the big thing. She's bald, and I guess they also said when I was reading about her, she's 6'3".
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really big. Yeah. So, all right. So that's Moondragon. She got her name Moondragon from defeating a powerful entity called the Dragon of the Moon.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
She took that name, Moondragon.
Interesting. Okay.
And Thanos destroyed the monastery where she was raised, and she escaped to Earth. And that's how she met the Avengers. And then they tried to fight Thanos. So there you go. All right, so that's all about. Oh, plus the Guardians of the Galaxy. We've talked about them before, and you barely see them, so we don't need to get into all them again.
Yeah.
All right, Michael. So that brings us up to the issue.
Did we talk about? Oh yeah, we've already talked about Yellow Jacket in other episodes, haven't we?
Yeah, Hank Pym.
I gotta say, I like him. I kind of like his costume better than Ant-Man's, but that's just me.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I liked Yellow Jacket as well. Mm-hmm. I thought it was pretty cool. So when this story begins, the Collector had just collected all the Avengers, and he brought them up to his little ship in space. But Korvac sensed that the Collector was trying to pull some shenanigans, so he just killed him with one bolt from the blue.
Right.
Just boom, disintegrated him, turned him into ashes right in front of the Avengers. So that's where we're at right now when this issue opens. But before that, let's look at the cover.
Sure. A very classic cover. We've got Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the Avengers, with the classic logo, and then the title, From Whence Came the Enemy? ?
The enemy.
And we see the shadowy outline of Korvac, and then everything that's in shadow is all a Starfield. And then we see Yellow Jacket, Iron Man, Thor, Vision, and Scarlet Witch sort of recoiling in horror, right?
Yep.
That's pretty much it, by Dave Cockrum and Terry Austin.
Yeah, Dave Cockrum cover.
Decent cover, definitely decent.
Yeah, it's, like if I saw this on the newsstand when I was a kid, I'd be like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, I like the design for sure, yeah.
Also, one thing I loved about the Avengers in this era was the little Vision popping out of the little character box beneath the price.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like phasing in. I like that. And this is still 35 cents. How about that? All right, so now the big splash page, Michael, and Stan Lee, The Mighty Avengers. And notice, I'd like to point out that in the credits here of the creators, everyone has their first initial and last name except for one man.
Except for James Shooter, the genius who wrote this, right?
Yeah, right. Plotter / editor-in-chief. He gets his first full name, and he's right at the front of the list. And then everyone else just gets a first initial last name.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of a
Ego
dickish thing to do, right?
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
James Shooter.
And there's even, it's almost like they skipped like penciling it and went straight to inks, because look how much space he takes up. There's even like a big gap between him and D. Michelini, and then the rest of the names become smaller and smaller, right?
Yep.
It's like he just wrote them in and he's like, oh shit, I got to fit in Roger Stern at the end here.
Yeah, they're not even spaced equally. Yeah, like he gets way more. Wow, I wonder why so many people didn't like him.
Yeah, exactly.
In Marvel, it's crazy. All right, so the splash page, it's all the Avengers standing around. And count the Avengers, Micah. We have 17 characters here.
Really?
We're dealing with 17
Yeah, we've got I'll name them quick. Cap, Thor, Quicksilver, Hercules, Jocasta, Iron Man, Vision, Scarlet Witch, Black Widow, Moondragon, Wonder Man, Wasp, Yellow Jacket, Black Panther, Hawkeye, Two Gun Kid, Captain Marvel, and I Have No Girlfriend. Anyway, okay, so
But yeah, they're all surrounding like the middle of the ash and the smoke emanating from the ash where the Collector used to be, and he was destroyed. This elder of the universe, this man who is supposedly immortal, was just destroyed right in front of them.
Right.
So they're all freaking out, like what the hell is going on. Also, I want to bring your attention from a writing point here. A little tip for you kids out there. You don't want to use a lot of prepositions when you're crafting sentences. Two is okay. 3, you're stretching it. 4 and 5, no. If you write a sentence with 4 and 5 prepositions, stop immediately and revise that sentence. Because
you're going to have to define preposition for the kids at home, including me.
Like to, of, from, prepositional phrases and all that stuff.
Okay.
So here's one example I want to highlight. In the very first box here, Michael, they stand in silence that reaches beyond awe, for they are the Earth's mightiest heroes, and yet, ... having been whisked to a paradoxical space-going construct as part of a collection to be preserved from the cosmic threat of a mysterious enemy.
Yes.
You hear it?
Oh, yes. Yes.
It's very hard to get through. It's very convoluted, and because that's what happens when you start using too many prepositions. You stretch sentences longer than they need to be,
right.
And they're just very confusing. So here, in just the second half of that sentence, we have 5 prepositions in a span of 25 words. Way too much. Way too much. But anyway.
So do you still love Jim Shooter?
Well, I guess this is David Michelini, right?
Oh, darn, you're right. He's only in charge of plotting. You're right. It's all Michelini.
But at the same point, Jim Shooter's the editor-in-chief, so anything that sees print is on his watch. So, yeah.
True.
Yeah, let's go.
Yep.
And I think Roger Stern was the editor on this.
Yeah, so it slipped past both of them. But then again, they were probably all in their teens when they were doing this, right? So anyway.
Yeah, we're a little harsh about at least I'm a little harsh about the writing here when, like you said, most of the people doing these issues are like, doing it when they get home coming home from school.
Right.
They're working on the comic books.
Right.
But anyway.
So
if you're a writer though, if you're at home, you want some advice, count your prepositions. But anyway, all right. Mm-hmm. So take it away, Maiko.
Sure. So they're all standing around. He's dead. And then, and so anyway, so it's kind of funny because then the first thing that happens is now I should point out Iron Man is the leader at this point. It's not Captain America.
Yeah, I'd like to point out something else, Miguel. Captain America does not say one word this entire book.
I was wondering, it seems like he disappeared halfway through the story. It was so bizarre.
That's the problem when you have 17 characters.
Right.
Because Black Widow is also pretty much an afterthought here. She doesn't do anything. But basically, the only characters who really talk a lot are Iron Man, Wonder Man. We get Miss Marvel shows up too, so that's an 18th character.
Right.
A Two Gun Kid gets swapped out for Miss Marvel, so I guess it's still at 17. But yeah, it's Wonder Man, Iron Man. Black Panther gets like 1 or 2 lines. Quicksilver gets some lines. Scarlet Witch gets a couple. Vision, but no Captain America, no Black Widow. I just don't understand how Captain America can be on the Avengers and not say anything.
The thing is to me, it's like, look, the leader of the X-Men is Cyclops or Storm. The leader of the FF is Mr. Fantastic. Yep. There's no reason to keep, like, it's been, a few weeks. Let's have a a nomination for a new leader. Like, why would you just randomly pick people, right? So at this point, it's Iron Man. Okay, granted, he's a co-founder and he funds them, but still, it's weird to have Cap there and him not be the leader, but whatever.
Yes, Captain America should always be the leader of the Avengers.
Right.
And you can make Iron Man as, next in charge or whatever, but Captain America should always be the leader. So for this book, to see Captain America just standing around, not saying or doing anything, really hurt it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So Iron Man's like, okay, so this guy just got killed by remote control. Let's walk around the ship and find out, if we can find any clues to what's going on, and we can find out the identity of this enemy, right?
Yeah, like some people are saying, hey, shouldn't we be real scared? But I think Iron Man says, well, listen, if this guy can kill Collector with just a flash of lightning and whatever, he could have killed us if he wanted to. So obviously he doesn't want to kill us. So I don't think we're in danger. So I guess that's logical. That's good thinking. Yeah. But,
so they start walking around and, trying to find clues to what's going on. And the first thing that Iron Man finds is this is it's like more people that have been wiped out, right?
No, it's like with him in Yellow Jacket. Are you talking about that?
Yes.
Yeah, they're like the computer banks have all been shut to dust.
Oh, those have been wiped out. Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. So, but then I love the next part where he walks around, he finds another machine. He's like, incredible. This machine's circuitry may be alien, but its purpose is indisputable. I don't know how it could be, and he's like, and I think the others are going to be a little more than a little interested in what it means. And so I love this. He's like, that's right, gentlemen. This mechanism is a temporal transfer device, a time machine. And by studying its function playback tapes, this is a freaking time machine, but it's working on wax cylinders,
I like how he just recognized it by looking at it,
That's what I mean. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it doesn't exist. How would you... I've always wondered about that. I mean, yes, I realize time machines are fictional, but I always thought it was funny how they always have a digital readout on them. That's why would the digital readout correspond to reality?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever,
right.
Okay,
1970. I didn't even notice it. It had the saying 1978.
Yeah. Awesome. Anyway,
like a digital clock on top of the big time machine. But hey, Iron Man, if you could recognize the time machine so easily, why not just create a time machine?
Yeah.
But no.
And now here's where we get into some. Now, granted, I love adhering to continuity. But this is where we get some wonky references to continuity where he starts explaining. He's like, I found the solution to at least one mystery that's been plaguing us. As you all know, about a month ago, Thor took a leave of absence to pursue his Odin Quest. And then this must be a mistake because it says, Did you hear the part about the Odin Quest?
No.
Okay. As you all know, about a month ago, Thor took a leave of absence to pursue his Odin Quest, which is ridiculous. But then below that it says...
What was the Odin Quest, Mike?
Well, I'm not even... Yeah, it's a story. I'm not sure what it was, but it just sounds funny because it's the Odin Quest and Odin is his dad, but I don't know what happened.
Maybe he was trying to find Odin.
Could have been, yep. But it's just funny because at the bottom it says, it has a little asterisk, Thor number 225 to 263. There's no way the story was that long. You know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah. So if you want to catch up, just go back and see just briefly glance through those 40 issues.
Yeah, exactly. Ridiculous. But anyway. And then it's I could read this whole thing, but it's just basically he's figuring out that Thor had been taken taken away through time, but then returned with his memory erased. Yes. And I had read a couple previous issues, and there's a scene where Thor sees Wonderman and doesn't know who he is, or forgets that he saw him, or something. Yeah.
If only I could forget who Wonderman is.
Yeah, exactly.
I would be so happy.
So basically, he figures out that they can send the Two-Gun Kid back to the past, who they just call Two-Gun. They don't even call him the Two-Gun Kid.
Yeah, because Two-Gun Kid, he wants to go back to the past. He's getting a little fed up with this futuristic stuff, being in spaceships, and he's like, where's my horse? I want to see my horse.
Yeah.
They send them back to the past.
Ridiculous. But anyway, so he goes back to the past, then Vision, pops in, and he's like, he's like, while you were otherwise engaged, I took the opportunity to explore this construct and discover the same teleportational device that brought us here. Yeah. So basically, then he teleports everyone down to the surface,
Yep,
But
they
like,
teleport back to Earth because they were on the Collector spaceship.
Right. Yeah. So now they're going to be teleported back to Earth, but it's like I guess they don't know how to control it because like Wonderman
Correct.
materializes in the middle of the city street in front of a bus and gets hit by a bus.
I loved it. Hit him again.
Yeah.
Back up and run over him again.
And then of course Scarlet Witch materializes like a mile above New York City and then just starts falling.
Yeah, she's gonna die.
But then she's rescued by Captain Marvel or Marvel, the original Marvel Captain Marvel.
Yeah, the fella, not the lady.
Right. And then Hawkeye's there, and then they're all hanging out. And then we cut over.
Hawkeye's hanging from a flagpole.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. He's hanging, yeah. It looks like he's kind of standing there. This art's decent, but that's not a great shot there.
I don't mind it. I think the coloring hurts it because his legs kind of blend in, and it's tough to read. But if you really look at it, it's kind of... Yeah. But
so then we cut over to Korvac or Michael
Korvac.
Michael Korvac.
His full name, Michael Korvac.
Right. So he's hanging out in this like mansion.
Oh, we should mention that when Michael Korvac became a god, he assumed the form of what he considered to be the ideal human. So he's a big, strapping, blonde-haired man with legs and a Linus and Charlie Brown's, not a computer terminal from the West.
Right. And so he's hanging out, and so this now he's with this woman who is Collector's daughter, Karina.
Yeah, Karina. And she's also smoking hot.
Yes, of course.
She took the form that would. She said she took a form that would be enticing to, because she's supposed to seduce this Korvac,
Right, but she ended up falling for him, right?
Yeah, and they got married.
Right. So then they start to kiss, and I assume to make love.
Oh yes,
and then we get
making sweet love. I got to read this one line though, Mike.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to read it, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, was it the same one?
Yes, just go ahead. It's so good.
For Michael, it is an experience in understanding as he softly slips between the delicate folds of Karina's soul.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, he slips between the delicate folds of Karina's, quote, soul.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, wow. Go Jim, eh?
David Michelini.
Oh, I keep saying Jim. This whole time I'm like, Jim, what do you do? Oh, it's David Michelini. Okay.
Yeah. There's just a big montage of Karina as he's slipping into the delicate folds of her soul.
Yes.
She's flashing back to like how her father sent her to spy on him and all this other stuff, and then how he killed her father, but she doesn't care because she loves him. She loves him.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next page we get a big splash page of a bunch of montage of.
Right. This is covering all the stuff you kind of talked about, like his origin, and then Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy. This is all from Thor Annual number 6.
And it shows him getting into Galactus's computer.
Right.
And he says, and so plugging his tri-pronged electronic probe into the station's computer output console. Now, do you think he used his tri-pronged probe to plug into Karina?
Into the delicate folds of her soul?
Yes.
This again lends credence to our theory that these guys were all like 21 when they were doing this stuff, right?
Yes.
Because that's exactly how I would have written when I was 21, but anyway. So it's just explaining how, he finds Galactus' ship, he gets the machinery, he rebuilds his body, he becomes a god, now he's got legs, he's got a perfect body. And then he meets, he meets Karina, then they get married, and now it's back to him in between the folds of her soul again, and then that's it.
And by the way, Michelini was 30 when he was writing this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was 30 years old.
Wow, okay. Well, whatever. Anyway. So then, I should also point out, because like I said, I've read previous issues, they've been having problems with, what's his name? Henry Peter Gyrich?
Yes.
Yes. So,
for those who don't know, he was like a government liaison to the Avengers.
Right. He was definitely a good character to have around, because he was kind of like their J. Jonah Jameson. He was kind of like the dick, the asshole. Like, to me, if they were to cast him in a movie in the 80s, he would have been played by the redhead guy from Ghostbusters. Remember? The one that came and shut down their headquarters? That's
Yeah,
Henry
pretty
Peter
much.
Gyrich.
Yeah, like he's just the government guy, the bean counter, who's always
Right.
trying to cause trouble, like keeping a tight leash on the Avengers.
Right.
You know? And so during this whole story arc, he's kind of like trying to shut them down, basically.
Right.
Trying to almost force them to disband, like with all the government red tape. But
Well, it's funny because in one of the previous issues, Hawkeye came home and he left the door open, and Henry Gyrich was so angry he revoked all of their government clearances just
because he left the door
of that. Yeah. So now they have like no jets. They're not allowed to contact Shield on the radio. They have no computers. It's hilarious. So
What'd you do, Hawkeye? Burn down an orphanage? No,
Yeah.
I left the door open.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so now they're having a meeting with like 86 members of the team now.
Yeah, all 17 members are on the table. Or I guess 16. Two-gun kid left.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing about drawing this issue, like this David Wenzel fellow. He had to draw a lot of characters.
Right. Yeah, we'll talk about it later, but there's definitely, it's fine. Like the art's fine.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Yep. So then, of course, in the midst of this meeting, Ms. Marvel flies in, and they're already all arguing and calling each other names. Like, that's one thing you got to understand with this era of Avengers. Like, you know, like they call Ms. Marvel Blondie, and you know they've got Wendy. I mean, some of them are affectionate, but they're just kind of ridiculous. You know.
Well, I'm going to take the Blondie as a Debbie Harry reference.
Oh, well, I mean, possibly, yeah.
I'm going to run with that because I love Debbie Harry.
Oh, so do I. Believe me. So anyway, so then basically they're trying to figure out what to do here, and Jocasta wants to help, and then they're all arguing back and forth.
Yeah, because Quicksilver says, what? So this is where we're at now? We're taking help from robots?
Right, exactly.
From walking machines?
Right.
She isn't even alive.
Right.
And Moondragon says, yeah, calm down, Quicksilver. She's a sentient being and all this. And then Quicksilver and Vision get in a fight because, Vision's a robot, and he's also putting his tri-pronged electronic probe into Quicksilver's sister.
Yeah.
And so what does he say to Vision? Yes, you would defend her. Marrying my sister didn't make you any more human than a digital watch.
Right.
Yikes. Bang.
But this doesn't sound like the Vision. Bring Wanda into this conversation, mutant, and you'll see that an android's wrath far exceeds human. Yeah, this doesn't seem like the Vision. Like, I'm used to the sort of cold, calculating Vision from later. But here I guess at this point he still had, I think, Wonder Man's personality printed on him. So he's really just acting like a human, right?
But I find that hard to believe because Wonder Man doesn't have a personality.
Yeah.
That guy's terrible.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about him calling Quicksilver a mutant when, he's kind of using it as a slur when his wife is also a mutant, no?
That's a good point.
But then I heard somewhere that they're not even considered mutants anymore, Quicksilver.
Well, that was a revision they did only like 10 years or 5 or 10 years ago because Marvel lost the movie rights.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Reason. Yeah. I'm sure that'll be retconned again soon. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, so like you were saying earlier, so not only is Iron Man the leader, but he's kind of the protagonist of this issue because now we're in his thoughts, right? Like he's all angst-ridden because, he's the leader and he's, well, hero, it looks like you've bitten off a bunch of it this time. He's thinking to himself, he's all angst-ridden because he's the leader and they got to figure out what to do and all that. And so then, it's kind of, again, this is kind of cool. This is something I was going to say Jim Shooter. This is probably Jim Shooter's idea because he was plotting, but so he's just kind of walking around thinking to himself. He just happens to walk by Wonder Man flirting with Ms. Marvel.
See, I hated this.
Well, he's trying to show how strong he is, but then he realizes that he can't lift this thing because it's programmed for Thor's strength, and he's not strong enough to lift it. So then Iron Man has to go in and save him. But I thought it was kind of funny. They should have made more of how embarrassing it must have been for him, because then Iron Man has to pick him, like, kind of help him stand up. It's kind of funny.
I just hated this.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know. We'll get into it when we're done.
Sure,
we'll talk about it. But,
So then Ms. Marvel just takes off. See ya.
Yeah. But she says, Wonder Man's surprised that Iron Man didn't even yell at him or anything.
Right.
For being such a goof off. And that's because the man's got problems, Wandy. Problems we'd best get busy and help him solve. And she flies off.
See, I always pronounce it Wendy. Do you think it's Wandy?
Well, Wandy.
Wonder. I have no idea.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Yeah. More important to talk about.
He's terrible by any name.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. So anyway, so then he's like, oh yeah, so here we go. Here's some more Henry Peter Gyrich. He's like, what happened, Jarvis? Because, in the comics, as everyone knows, Jarvis is an actual guy. He's not a computer. So he's like, I'm afraid Mr. Gyrich had several of the data banks removed, sir. Something about security reasons. So now they have no computers or whatever. Yeah, I guess like he also has cables all unplugged.
Yeah.
So he's all pissed off. So then he's like, wait a minute, I got an idea. Let's call the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? So for you viewers,
because Jarvis mentions the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like he says, he's had so much to keep up with, and at least those Guardians moved out.
Right? Because they're staying somewhere else, not here. She's like, I got it. I'll call the Guardians of the Galaxy. So then I love this scene. We see Starhawk, Martin X, and Charlie 27 standing around in their costumes in a kitchen, and Martin X is looking at like a kettle. And
he's holding a kettle in his hands.
Right. He's like, well, one of you grab the phone, please. I'm busy heating this water for Nikki's cocoa. Like, I love it. It's so awesome.
It is so dumb.
I love it.
For those who don't remember, Martin X is the big crystal-like guy, and he can control heat and cold and stuff. And then what does Charlie 27 say, Michael?
He's like, you get it, Starhawk. I've been waiting to see what Marty does when the steam fogs his eye crystals. Awesome. If you're gonna write dialogue, that's how you write dialogue, right?
And then it says Starhawk, this intergalactic guy, has to go pick up a telephone.
Right.
It's so bad.
I love it.
Why would an Iron Man? They're like not that far away. They're all in New York. Like, why doesn't Iron Man? Why wouldn't you just have Iron Man fly over to talk to him?
I guess he could, but it's probably quicker to just call him. But they also can't call the computer, remember, because they have no computer, so they have to use the telephone, I guess.
Well, they didn't have the internet either, 78.
Yeah.
but
they didn't have time travel.
That is true. But why can't he? I don't know. Here's another tip for you writers out there. When you want to get to a climactic moment in the story, don't use a telephone.
Yeah, there you go.
Have the characters interact. Not through
Even I know that.
It's just stupid. But anyway.
So then we get the...
Yeah, Iron Man wants Starhawk to help him find that enemy that they're looking for, this unknown enemy. And Starhawk's like, I don't know, I got something else. I got more important things I got to do with this Korvac fella. Because they don't know that Korvac is the enemy.
Right.
They think they're two different people. But then Martinek says, hey, why don't you help them out? They've always been good to us. You should help them out, Starhawk. So
this is kind of the crazy Joe Davolo moment where they don't realize it, but they're actually talking about the same guy.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And it says Starhawk finally says, all right, I'll help him out. But if that Korvac shows up, you better let me know. And he flies away. Right.
And then we cut back to Michael Korvac with Karina. And then he's like, she's like, Michael, is something wrong? And he's like, no, Karina, the Avengers have merely contacted Starhawk, unaware that his senses can no longer perceive me. And then he's like, if they listen to him, they'll never find me. And let us hope that such is the case, for I hold no, of course I can't pronounce this word. Enmity towards the Avengers, and it would be a pity indeed to have to destroy them. He's drinking like cocoa or something as he says that.
Yeah. Maybe Martinex heated it up for him.
Yeah, there you go.
But Starhawk, the reason why Starhawk can't sense him is because in a previous issue, I think maybe the issue before this, Korvac actually killed Starhawk. He turned him to ash. Like he did with the Collector. But then he resurrected him and brought him back to life, but he made him so he cannot sense Korvac anymore.
Interesting. So what a specific thing to do.
He's blind to Korvac. Well, because Korvac was the only guy on the planet who could sense him. So he's like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's the only guy who could sense Korvac. So if he gets rid of Starhawk, his ability to sense him, he thinks he'll be safe. But he can't leave Starhawk dead, because then that might get people suspicious and they'll be investigating and try and probably find him, So in that way it makes sense. And also this ties in very much to the ending of the story, because they finally realize that this Michael fella is Korvac and he's the enemy, when Starhawk is in a room with everybody, including Michael, and he can't see him. So people are talking to Michael. And Starhawk's like, what are you guys doing? Quit messing with me. What are you doing? Why are you talking to an empty space? And they're like, wait a minute. Why can't Starhawk? Hey! They start piecing it together.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. That's not bad at all.
I'm going to steal that.
So yeah, that's the end of the issue, though. All right, so we got to talk about some of this stuff. First of all, not a single person gets punched in this entire issue.
Good point. Good point.
So I hate it right off the bat. I also hate that we mentioned Captain America doesn't do anything. There's too many characters. Like, did they really need 17 Avengers in here? Like, if you told the story like 7, maybe it'd be okay.
Oh yeah, half of it, sure.
The Wonderman scene with Miss Marvel, I just don't like it. One of the reasons I don't like it, it's just because all the women. I know Shooter isn't writing this, but he's plotting it, and all the women are just made to be stupid.
Right.
And I think that seems to be a hallmark of Jim Shooter.
He has weird issues with women. You're right, absolutely.
Yeah, so every woman in here does nothing more than just be scared or be weak and defer to men. And I guess it's 78.
Even Scarlet Witch, who is one of the most powerful members, has to materialize in midair so she can be rescued by a guy who's not even on the team.
Yeah, and like she's also very scared at some other points. It's just I don't know. Oh, I guess Moondragon is represented pretty well, but
and who did you say created her again? Was it Jim Shooter?
No. Who was Moondragon created? Jim Starlin was involved.
Okay.
Let me look it up here real quick. I gotta go back to my notes. She was created by Bill Everett.
Okay.
Created Daredevil. Mike Friedrich and George Tuska. Oh, Starlin wasn't involved in that.
Okay.
Who the hell was Starlin involved in creating then? Because I know I wrote him down.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh well, never mind. So yeah, Bill Everett, Daredevil, and Moondragon. Look at that. Jim Starlin was involved with creating Korvac.
Okay, there you go.
All right, so what else about this? Too many characters. I don't like how the characters are portrayed. Wonder Man is terrible. I just can't stand him. And we should mention Wonder Man's costume. And this is the area where he's wearing the red, waistcoat and
with
black pants.
Terrible.
Red sunglasses.
Go
ahead.
He has one of the worst collections of costumes of any character.
Well, he's rivaled though by the Wasp. And in this issue, the Wasp has another terrible costume. She changed costumes like every 2 weeks.
Right.
And this one, it's like orange and just weird. I
don't hate it, but it's not great.
Basically, this whole issue, nothing happens. People would just sit around talking, and they're trying to figure. Again, the big climax of the issue is Iron Man making a phone call.
Yeah.
This is terrible. This is terrible.
It's not great. And the thing is to be honest, I read the issues leading up to this, and none of them were as great as I thought they would be.
Yeah, see, I didn't read any of the other issues at all. But, Michael, let's go back to our buddy Jim Shooter and his... Remember he had that blueprint, what he looked for in a comic book?
Sure, yeah.
And he looked for 5 things when he was evaluating a comic book story. 1, the characters must be introduced quickly. Like right at the top. And here we get that. The Avengers are all there. Their presence are there. We get that. Their situation must be established. I think they do that. The conflict must be introduced. There's really no conflict here. Like internal, like the team's arguing and stuff, but... Yeah,
which is forced.
And they're trying to find this enemy, but not much else going on here. Suspense must be built. A climax must be reached. Nope. None of that happened here. And a resolution must be achieved. Nope. Now, I realize this is one part of a larger story. So if you look at it from the big perspective, all right, maybe. But man, I would like something to happen in this issue.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing here.
Yeah, I'm flipping through it again, and I'm trying to figure out what the climax is, and I guess it is that frickin' phone call. That's ridiculous.
The big reveal, the Guardians, I could call them.
That's
the only thing that happens.
As I was reading it, it really felt like if you were to go to the last page and look at the top of the page, is there any way you would guess that the end is about to come? No. It doesn't feel like the end of a story. It's just they ran out of paper.
Yeah. I guess, like I said, if you look at this from the big perspective, this is just one small thing of a greater story, but still, each individual issue must stand on its own as well.
Sure, absolutely.
You can't just have dead spots for a whole issue.
No.
This is really bad.
Well, also, we have, how many pages of recap of his origin? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pages. 4 out of, what, 22? That's a lot. Like, that could all have been in 1 page, if anything, you know? Rough.
Yeah, then we also get other flashbacks to, like, when Iron Man's explaining the Thor stuff. So we get, like, another page.
Yeah, that's true.
Too. Yeah, this is just not good. I don't know. Don't know what else to say about it.
You know,
good.
I had, as a kid, I know because I recognized the covers, I had 174, and I think I had 171. And I don't remember anything about them, and I never, they didn't compel me to want to read more. So obviously, yeah, I never thought they were good.
And the big issue here is plotting, you know?
Yeah.
So sorry, James Shooter. But there's a lot of dead wood here that could be cut away. So yeah, I was really excited to read this Korvac Saga. And maybe if you read the entire saga at once, it would be easy to overlook this.
Right.
But since we're just reading this one issue, this is really bad.
So. Yeah. I mean, again, I kind of just picked a random one. I wonder if 176 would have been better, but I won't know until I read it. Yeah,
because I watched a video of a guy recapping the entire saga last night.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. So the whole story is cool.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. And like the ending is really nice because there's ambiguity about whether the Avengers should stop Korvac or not.
Yeah.
Moondragon's the only one that perceives this. And she actually like monkeys with their minds to make them okay with the fact that they did what they did. But in reality, they probably did the wrong thing because Korvac was trying to help everybody. They help the universe and the world, make a utopia, make things good. And they basically ended up killing him. And he also killed a bunch of the Avengers in the final fight. But then he brings them back to life with his last breath, because he wanted to undo the wrongs that he did.
Right.
But you know who he didn't bring back? The Collector. So I guess he didn't feel like doing that, writing that wrong. But how does the Collector come back, Michael?
I have no idea. How does he come back?
The Contest of Champions.
Get out of town, which I've read and I forgot.
I've never read it. And I also watched a video about that last night.
Really?
And the Grand Master is a competition against death. And if the Grand Master wins, he gets to bring back his buddy, the Collector, from the dead.
Well, I'll tell you, the cool thing about Contest of Champions is it's the first event. It's the first comic where every single Marvel superhero is in it, right? Because it's before Secret Wars.
Yeah, pretty much. But the other problem with the Contest of Champions, there's also a bunch of heroes that shouldn't be in it that are in it. They had all these random new creations,
right.
like Shamrock.
Right. Because those were, I think it was originally created to tie in with the 1980 Olympics, and so they tried to have a superhero for every country.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And most of them were never seen again. But it is cool if you're interested in Marvel superheroes. If you want to see Wolverine and Captain America and Spider-Man all in one comic, it's really cool for historical reasons, but it's not a great comic.
Yeah, you know what else is wrong with it? They fucked up the math. Like, they were keeping the score of the contest, and it should have been 2-2. Like Death's team and Grandmaster's team each had 2 wins because they're trying to retrieve these portions of an orb, this magic orb. And but they said that Grandmaster's team won 3-1, even though they did not. It was 2-2.
Well, again, they're writing these comics in between classes, right? At high school.
Because how does that happen? How could that possibly happen?
I know. You're right. It's ridiculous.
Like, it's the whole crux of the story.
Yeah.
Yet the writer didn't catch it. The editor didn't catch it. I don't know. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
and it's only 2 parts. It's not like this is some 60, part story. 2 issues, right? Or 3 issues.
3, yeah.
So they should have been able to keep track. And nope. But anyway, so that's how we get the Collector back to life, because of the Contest of Champions. But and also Karina and Korvac die at the end of this saga, but they don't. They're brought back too, because no one ever stays dead. And, eventually we get the Korvac Quest because of that, and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, so there you go. What about the art here, though? Dave Wenzel. Wenzel. And
Yeah.
You clearly never heard of him before because you thought it was a pseudonym. I never heard of him before. He was born in 1950, and he drew Avengers 174 to 177 of this Korvac Saga. And so he drew the final 4 issues of it. Huh. And he did 9 issues of Savage Sword of Conan between issues 26 and 62 from 1978 to 81, and that's it. That was basically all his comic book work. And then he switched from comics to children's literature. And in 1989, he drew The Hobbit, an illustrated edition of the Fantastic Classic for Eclipse Comics. Edition of the Fantasy Classic, for the Eclipse Comics. It was a 3-part series. It became hugely successuful, and it was reprinted in a book format with 32 pages of new art that he also did. He also illustrated some Brothers Grimm fairy tales. He did a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer book. So that's the kind of stuff he was doing. He did a lot of that stuff.
Well, he's definitely, like I said, yeah, he's fine. There's nothing really wrong with this art.
Yeah, I was reading someone else did a review of the Korvac Saga, and one of their complaints was the art fell off when Perez wasn't doing it. And I got to tell you, I couldn't notice much difference between this and Perez from this time.
No, you know? Perez was not great at this point. He was pretty good. Like
22, 21, like we were saying. And if you go back and look at the early issues of this, it's not much better than this. It's pretty much equal to this. Like,
I agree. Yeah,
big difference at all. So I think Wenzel does a good job here. It's not my complaint with it would be it's not very like classic Marvel Kirby.
Right. Yeah.
Colin or Buscema, you know, like there's dynamic poses and the really dramatic compositions and page layouts.
Right.
Like we would do. It's all pretty standard stuff, straight up and down, eye level perspectives on most of the panels. Nothing too extraordinary or innovative or anything. So it's just kind of like workman-like, but it's solid. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So Dave Wenzel, there he is. I don't know, Micah. What else to say about this?
I don't know. Other than, again, I don't know what to think about. Like, I like Jim Shooter. I like David Michelinie. I mean, I like all these guys. But yeah, it definitely was not a good issue.
Yeah, I was hugely disappointed. I was really looking forward to this, and I was like, oh, this is not good at all. Yeah, it's just bad. It was so bad, Michael. I had to look at the cover again to make sure it wasn't published by DC.
Oh.
That's how bad it was.
Low.
So, yeah, not a fan. I don't know. What would you give it 1 out of 10, Michael?
Whew. Well, here's the thing. Yes, it's terrible, but I didn't hate, like, I didn't, when I was reading it, I didn't hate it, so I'll give it a 4.
I don't know. I could give it a 1.
Ooh.
Because I would never want to read this again.
But don't forget the art's not bad, so it's got to be more than a 1. Or is that where the 1?
I'll give it a 3 just for Dave Wenzel because it's the first time I've seen his art and it's solid. You know, nothing amazing, but it's good stuff. So, and I'm trying to think. I like Moondragon. I guess seeing Moondragon, that's something.
Yeah.
Bald lady. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other positives. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I guess slipping his tri-pronged electronic probe through the delicate folds of her soul.
There you go. That's at least a 1.5.
I'll go 3 officially, but that's generous. Right. Yeah, it's real generous. So, all right. Next week, Michael, you mentioned him that he appeared in this book. He saved Scarlet Witch.
No way.
We're going to go Captain Marvel, issue 33 from 1974.
Woo!
Written by Steve Englehart and illustrated by Jim Starlin.
Nice.
Because when you think Captain Marvel, I think Jim Starlin, right? Like that's...
Sure, yeah. What number, 33?
33. By some accounts, I saw some people rank this as the best issue of 1974.
Wow.
Of Marvel.
Really?
And it stars Thanos.
Okay.
And the Cosmic Cube.
I think I've read this one, but I'm looking forward to it. That's great.
Yeah, I've never read it. So there we go. Captain Marvel 33, 1974.
Sweet. And
then I think the countdown, Michael, the week after that, our buddy Larry will be on the show.
That's right. I hope he knows about it.
Yes, he does.
All right. Good. So yeah, I guess that wraps up another episode of Flea Market Fantasy. Every week we do a Bronze Age comic book from the 1970s or 1980s. 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks, or one of our pals picks, right? But usually we rotate in some way. And we're available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and the Comic Book Syndicate website. It's all under Comic Book Syndicate, but you can also search for Flea Market Fantasy and you'll find us. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So until next Tuesday, disperse!